Alright, quick update on AxieInfinity, ticker symbol AXS. So we're going to be starting off this video talking about how our prediction from the previous video panned out. We'll be looking at the basic market structure, moving averages, a couple of fractals that have been playing out, and then we'll be moving over to the oscillators and some of our momentum indicators. Let's jump right in. So the last video we made, it was a couple of days ago, I more or less said I see something like this playing out. And what I was saying with this is basically I think we're going to trend sideways for a couple of days, a week or so, into these EMA ribbons on the daily time frame before we initiate our next leg down. Something like this. This is just a line of best fit, but nonetheless, you know, I'm drawing this to major areas of support / Fibonacci. So this was what I see coming into fruition. We've done part one, which was we've lollygagged into the EMA ribbons for a couple of days, and we've started to break down quicker than I thought. I thought we were probably going to lollygag for maybe 5 days or so, and it seems we did it for 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we did it for like 4 days, and now on the 5th day we're starting to capitulate. So where do I think we're moving down? Well, like I said in the last video, this is your next major area of support. If we zoom out, you've got a bunch of trend lines down here from where you had your I say mini bear market low. This is basically where you consolidated and capitulated to before you had a massive bull run for AxieInfinity. So you've got a couple of touch points down here where this green line is. You've got a touch point down here, but more specifically right at the top here, $6.06. This was previous. I guess we can drag this back. Yeah, you can. This was previous resistance. Resistance. It broke. Flip support. Broke down. Resistance. And then it was resistance, and you flipped it to support and it went on a bull run. So as you can see, this is a massive level of confluence, and I think this next major level of confluence is going to be coming down to $6.07. We were predicting a 65.5% drop in our last video. We're down 13% already, and I think we're going to continue with this breakdown and head down about another 60%. Not necessarily in the next week or so. This is really where I see us coming in the next month, month and a half, call it 4 to 6 weeks. This is what I think we're going to be doing. So, like I said previously, you've got a big 1.618 down here. If we draw our fib from our low to our high, we can probably also find some other major areas of confluence. This looks like a larger Fibonacci, and I believe I deleted this just because this was right below this level of support down here, but nonetheless I will draw it back. You do have two 1.618 Fibonacci's down here, so if anything, this is kind of what I see coming into fruition. I probably see a big bounce down, slow bleed out until we reach about $8.78. We could bounce up to as high as $11.26, and then we'll probably capitulate back down to $6 or so. If we do draw our fib from our low to our high, this would line us up with a rejection of the 236. Obviously, these data points haven't even come into fruition yet, so I'm drawing fibs on squiggly lines in the sand that haven't played out, so it is kind of degenerative. We will need to take it one step at a time, obviously, but nonetheless, this is what I see panning out at this moment in time. So let's talk about these fractals that we've seen play out time over time again. So, I mean, we can zoom out and see basically since the all-time high, we flipped bearish on the daily EMA ribbons at $126. That seems like years ago now, because we're sitting down at $15. We've really got battered hard for Axie. All-time high was up here at like 165, 166. Pretty brutal. And since then, as you can see, let's draw this out. You got rejected from the daily EMAs, breakdown, rejected, breakdown, rejected, breakdown, rejected, breakdown. I don't want to litter the chart with drawings, but you can see every single time we tried to flip it bullish here, we came back down, back tested it, broke down. So this was a fake out. But what you can see is we play this same fractal out on the daily EMA ribbons time after time again. You see breakdown, didn't even get enough strength to come in, didn't get enough strength to come here. You came into the daily EMAs, breakdown, lower high. You came into the daily EMAs, breakdown, and now this is what I see happening, another lower high for AxieInfinity, in which we do come down to these lower price targets. Looking at our oscillator, I like to use the money flow indicator. This indicates, you know, is money flowing in or out of the market at this moment in time. And as you can see, what is the MFI doing is really starting to capitulate to the downside after making this very nice double top structure over on the MFI. So it does seem pretty black and white that we are going to be heading down now, in my opinion. Decent amount of volume coming in over on Binance. You can see today 1 million Axie was sold over on Binance. So that is definitely a decent number considering how much it's dropped in the past in the past year or so, still having these big numbers that are being taken out is still very, very impressive in my opinion. But nonetheless, 4 hourly EMA ribbons within this bounce. Let's draw this out, because on the daily time frame you can see this was your daily EMA, and then if we head back to the 4 hourly time frame, this was where we came into the daily EMA. We tried to flip the 4 hourly EMA, we came back for the back test, breakdown, confirmed it as resistance, and now we're heading down. So like I said, all signs point to the breakdown. You came into it, you've back tested it on the lower time frames, and now we are heading down. So where do I see us going from here? At least in the short term, 1.618 is definitely on the table. $11 is the next price target that we are going to be coming down to. If we do head over to our oscillators and see if these do agree with our analysis, let's look at the squeeze bomb to start with. We are kind of in a limbo at this moment in time, and what I mean by that is you've got a high up here over on the bullish side of the squeeze bomb, and then you've got a lower high, which indicates that bears should be switching over. However, to the downside, you've got a low, higher low, and higher low, which also shows that bears are losing strength and bulls are losing strength. Why does this make sense? Well, if we look at the market structure, you can see we've more or less just been trending sideways. I mean, you know, within a pretty decent range, you know, between the ranges of $24 down here to 12. Bear in mind the market cap is pretty low, so this is very volatile. As you can see, we zoom out a bit further and you can really see how volatile this asset class is. But with that being said, squeeze bomb very neutral right now. I think this is going to start heading back down to the downside after Axie continues with this capitulation back down. We've already had a lower high, lower low rejection from the daily EMAs. It looks like we're heading down. In my opinion, the MACD has been heading up in the past couple of days while we've been having that dead cat bounce. But as you can see, the momentum is starting to subside now on the MACD, and also the green line is starting to converge. We are also sitting below the heart line, which is very indicative that we are losing strength. You've got a high, lower high, lower high, and also another lower high. So like I said, almost all signs point towards this final capitulation back down to the downside. OBV, the on-balance volume, is also starting to head down. Let's switch over to the 4 hourly time frame. As you can see, OBV doesn't load in unless it's on the daily. Let's see, does it actually load in on the weekly? Yeah, it does. That's interesting to know, but you can see macro time frame, this is definitely heading down. 4 hourly time frame, OBV actually does load in, it just remains very, very flat, so it's pretty much useless unless you drag this out. But 4 hour heading down. MACD on the 4 hourly time frame, you can also see this is converging back down to the downside. We've broken below the heart line, so we are switching very bearish now. And the squeeze bomb, this has started to break the market structure, which is very, very nice. What you can see is if we look from here, actually we can draw it from here, you can see the bulls were gaining strength, so the bears were losing strength. And we know this because if we look to the downside, you can see we were losing momentum to the downside on the squeeze bomb. What we're doing now, you've got a lower high, lower low rather, higher low, higher low, higher low, which bear in mind on the downside is a bullish indicator. But now we've started to break the market structure, and the squeeze bomb is once again making a higher low, which should be indicative that the trend is about to reverse, or should I say continue, because we have been heading to the downside for a very long period of time now. I mean, if we just remove the drawings and head over to the Fibonacci candles to smooth out the trend, it's very, very black and white that we are absolutely getting beaten to the downside right now. Money is flowing out the market, volume is stagnant, but bears are somewhat exponentially increasing the volume that they've got going on very, very slowly. The weekly EMA ribbons, we're miles below them. So all signs point towards these lower price targets. Let's wrap up the video now. We've talked about everything we need to talk about. Just let me give you a recap of my price targets. I think we're probably going to break down to about $11. I do think we'll probably be tailgating this and breaking back down below it, heading down to $8.90. Bouncing up to 11, and then heading down to my macro price target of $6. I'm not necessarily going to buy down at these regions. I really want to see how the general markets are doing, how Bitcoin's doing, because I don't judge altcoins just by their altcoin charts. I want to make sure that Bitcoin's bullish as well before I even consider picking up altcoins. And you know, looking at Bitcoin, obviously I'm talking about a big move, so we'll be at a completely different price by then. But just looking at Bitcoin's doing the same, getting rejected from the 4 hourly EMAs, squeeze bomb heading down, MACD breaking below the heart line. Let's look at the SPY. The stock market is heading down, which is bearish for Bitcoin. The dollar is heading up, which is bearish for Bitcoin. So it seems pretty obvious. Looking at Axie USD is all good. It does look bearish to me. And then you look at the greater markets like Bitcoin, you look at the stock market and all that good stuff, and all of these charts look like they want to head down, apart from the dollar, of course, which is inversely correlated to the crypto market. So not too much looks good right now. I do think we're going to be breaking down to lower price targets. I will be letting you know at some point if I do plan on buying this as a short-term trade, but right now it seems pretty obvious. Also, volume is predictive of price, and you're starting to see bears step back into the market with 1 million Axie sold today. Do we have the Coinbase chart on this? Let's see. So let's check out how much volume is being sold on Coinbase. So 99,000. So it seems predominantly that this is mostly traded over on Binance. So a lot of selling pressure going on right now. Looks like we're going to be heading down. That is all I've got for you today. As always, Cowboy out. Peace.